Welcome. Welcome to this week's BTO talk on generative AI. My name is Michael Alf, calling from beautiful Lisbon, working with companies on their transformation, GenAI and AI transformation. And I'm here with one of my partners, Rob. Over to you.
Yes, Michael, great to be with you today and looking forward to our session. Rob Thurner, based here in the UK, also a rather lovely day today, and working with business schools and clients on their digital transformation journeys with a big focus, of course, on generative AI. So, Michael, in our two-man job today, where do you want to focus our time?
Yeah, look, a quick update on the technology side. Again, we have news. Things are moving as fast as always. And one of the models you might have heard, Qwen, that's a Qwen. It's actually kind of open source model as well, came up with a new model, Qwen3, with exceptional results. Initial ones, it's brand new from I think yesterday or the day before. Brand new model, really interesting, high quality. And what makes that very different to other models is that they are using new and further developed and enhanced architectures. So it's less about the volume of data. So this is it's still massive. We're talking about billions of parameters, but they're actually smaller than most of the others, like the DeepSeek, the OpenAI, and so on. And still they get better results. And that's because of the architecture they're using. They're also optimizing the energy consumption and computer consumption by the proper architecture. And one of the ways they do that, they have so-called dense models. So these are smaller, specialized models, therefore cheaper and faster. And these models are, again, trained by the big model. So they have one gorilla, so the mothership, if you like. This actually trains then the different kind of smaller spaceships. So you have then this spaceship and then you have this mothership. And this gives a really, really interesting combination. Very, very powerful. We'll see that on images, on text. There's more exploration to do, but it definitely is interesting. And another huge step also, what they claim, towards AGI, so artificial general intelligence. So that's from my side. Any thoughts on that, Rob?
Yeah, so I think the two things. First of all, energy consumption. There will be those very concerned about this and the big implication on the GenAI expansion as a significant downside. So that's very good to hear. I think it raises a really interesting question about what these new models really mean for the organization in terms of capability to do things which may have been tried before and didn't work, and also this sort of mindset that we need to be constantly questioning what we did and the implications on what we can do now based on these new models. That could be a separate conversation, Michael. Maybe we can come back to that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so
absolutely. Let's wait for Marcus next time and then have a freeway conversation on this super relevant topic, because it's a really challenging topic. So that's one challenging topic. I have another one which I'd like to hand over to you, Rob, for some thoughts. So quite often when we work with organizations, especially larger organizations, we find a situation where you have nowadays certain people already have a good, solid understanding. Some are even experts in AI, generative AI. Especially, of course, we talk about generative AI because AI experts have been around for a number of years now already. So this is one challenge, and now you try to package that and try to kind of executive education around that. So kind of this is a typical problem. And Rob, kind of what's a way to handle that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, Michael, it's a really interesting one. And what we find is that those with the greatest expertise are not at the top of the organization hierarchically. So the question is, are we looking to split people based on capability? And are we creating a twin track approach where the most able and the most knowledgeable may well be much more junior than the more senior people? So this, first of all, gives us a really important thing in any exec education program. We've got to bring people into teams where they have the right level of knowledge, and then we can accelerate their learning at the right pace. Now, what does that mean practically? Well, we're working on a program right now where in this group, and this is a large government technology and information ministry, they are looking to upskill their teams on GenAI. And we're building a twin track approach where the more able will be given initially an assessment to understand exactly their level of knowledge. We'll then be designing a program and using an action learning project through that program, which tackles the more advanced aspects of using GenAI. And in terms of actually leading these programs, we will be orientating the thing towards that outcome. And on the other hand, we've got those responsible for the day-to-day. Now, they may have less knowledge, and the way that we explain the concepts to them will be different from the first group. And the action learning project that these guys do will be orientated towards the doing rather than the managing. So this is the twin track approach we're taking. We're finding more and more clients coming to us need to have this distinction between the types of learners. So we're pushing them at the right speed. But the very worst case is avoided, which is explaining basic concepts to people who already get it. And on the other hand, explaining concepts which are complicated and would lose people who are not yet up to speed. So that's the approach we're taking. Now, the other point to make here is that to get them all on the same page, remember we've maybe mentioned this word Maverick before, this Maverick simulation. This is going to be a really important way of bringing them all together so they can all understand the different implications of working collaboratively on their GenAI projects. And that then as a kickoff leads us into these separate streams. So this is something we've been talking about for some time, but it's really fun now to be bringing this to practice and to designing this program. Michael, we're just getting started. So what's your reflection on the things which are going to work best and the things we need to watch out for as we get into this build phase?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really becomes more and more critical. Yeah, with the, let's say, the divergence of knowledge and understanding is increasing in organizations because people move at different speeds. Let's just kind of break that apart a little bit, kind of what you said. So maybe in just a 2 or 3 sentences, then kind of we have the assessment. So what's the idea of the assessment? Why is that so important?
I think the assessments are important. The first thing is for us to understand what they know already, what they feel, what their knowledge level is, so that we can then be introducing those concepts at the right level of description when we run it. Also to make sure that it's not just knowledge, it's confidence, and how well do they feel the organization will allow them to apply their knowledge. And that may well bring up in that assessment some barriers that we don't yet know about from our briefing, which then open up more conversations so we can be as practical as possible. The other advantage with the assessment, of course, is that we can do a pre and post. And so we can measure, and for the client who's looking to get some form of sort of ROI metric on the learning, what uplift we've seen in knowledge before and after. So that's the assessment. Yeah. The other thing is that actually when we're running the program and the action learning project in teams, we've got a good mix of people. So we've got those with the more advanced, and we can also mix up within their group people who've got expertise in different areas by analyzing the data. And of course, we'll be using GenAI to do that analysis for us.
Nice. Great. So that's the assessment. Now let's talk about kind of briefly Maverick. Why do we see kind of Maverick so powerful when you have these diverse groups?
Well, as a principle, we had it in our minds when we designed this initially that the big challenge is often breaking down the silos and different areas of expertise, different levels of confidence, but also a range of different areas where we may have subject matter experts in getting them working together on the challenges. Now, if we bring together into those Maverick sessions people with the leadership, the more advanced, and the practitioners, they can see for themselves in the discussions at the end of each scenario what the perspectives are of others in the organization. And of course, if they're exposed to those views and they're working through these scenarios together, this is a really good way to appreciate those differences and see the perspectives from others' points of view. So it's really exciting that we've got a situation here where we can apply that as a key part of our learning journey.
Absolutely, sounds great. Yes, so kind of Maverick is very powerful in this combination of simplicity, but also depth at the same time, which works, as you said, on the different levels. So kind of managers discuss situations differently to, let's say, kind of normal workers, and even young workers who come into an organization. Even they have a perspective on the scenarios. Very good. Let's kind of tackle the third interesting building block. You talked about kind of the ALPs, the action learning plan. So kind of what is that in a nutshell, and why is that so important?
Well, in a nutshell, we asked the client, if there was one key thing you want to get out of this program, what is it? It's always a good way to zone in on the focus. She said, look, there's a load of theoretical courses. This has to be very practical. So with that practical in mind, the idea with this action learning project is that we define a business challenge or a number of different business challenges which the organization is working on, and then we zone in on that challenge, and we bring in the right members of each team to tackle the challenge. So initially, it's based on what the business needs to do. We then develop a concept which they can tackle with GenAI and look at the tools they'll be needing to use to solve for that. And then ultimately, there's a presentation that they share back. And we bring in the C-level execs to assess that presentation. So it's a short form version, but this is something that I've run for many workshops in the past. And it's a really good way of anchoring the learnings in practical outcomes they can then bring back into the business and apply.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, really interesting. And we see these kind of components. Let me wrap that up with one last question to you, Rob. Does this approach both work in physical training situations and virtual, and also hybrids? What is your experience there?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think in the best case, there definitely needs to be some online, because a lot of the work they'll be doing and the preparation for the presentations will be done remotely. So there will definitely need to be some online. My experience is that the best interaction is physical. And so in the best case, we have a physical kickoff. We explain the principles, get them working in teams. We then do the interventions where they're coming up with the ALP idea, and we're assessing their work as they go through online. And then we can do a wrap up and an event with the senior execs face to face, which is a really nice way of tying the whole thing together. And then they can award certificates and whatever else. So hybrid ultimately would be the best way to do this. But of course, it's down to budget. And we're here to find ways of working which suit budgets and the logistics stuff involved in getting people in one place. If you've got people from all over the world and you want to do a single program like this, it may not be feasible or affordable to get them all together, in which case the whole thing can be done online.
Excellent. One additional question on that. So kind of, do you see a development from in-person training towards more hybrid virtual in this executive space? Yeah. So we know, of course, there's a lot of training now happening online. There's great courses, all of that. And we still see kind of on the executive level, there's the kind of the demand and the necessity to do that in person. Kind of, how do you see kind of a development there?
Yeah, I think it depends on the organization. It depends on the culture. And in some cases, it's very difficult to get people to turn their cameras on. We found this during COVID, which was really tough. And that really underpinned the need to be face-to-face. And there was this mass exodus away from online and getting back into face-to-face after COVID. So I think that's an experience we've all had. My view would be that having some face-to-face is really fundamental. And if you want to get high quality conversations and really understand the nuances of where your different stakeholders are coming from, that's best achieved face to face. And online is good for the stuff in between, but I would want to have some face to face in there if that's feasible. Excellent.
Thank you very much, Rob, for your very valuable insights based on kind of years of experience kind of doing these things. And I'm excited that we work on kind of further enhancing and developing these experiences and bringing the GenAI components into it, also into the training itself. And if you want to kind of experience more, know more, reach out to us either via LinkedIn here, DM, or join us on the newsletter here. The link is down, community.beyondtheobvious.co/newsletter. I might have even a QR code if you're online. There we go. So they can put that in as well. And any final words, Rob, to the audience?
No, just really looking forward to running this session, Michael. Of course, where these end up is hugely different depending on the business and what they're looking to do. But also, just to mention, it should be evident, we will be using GenAI in the creation of the activities and some of the content as we go. So we're really practicing what we're preaching in the formulation and the delivery and the assessments themselves. So really looking forward to this one, working with you, Michael. And for the rest of you, please get in contact. It would be great to see what you're wrestling with, and we'd love to help you with your exec education programs.
Until then, see you, and hopefully next week with Marcus together. And I think we already teased the topic of next week. Yeah, so building on Qwen3, try it out, and let us know what questions you have. Wishing you a wonderful week.
Thank you. See you next time.